Hey, it's Jay. I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how I made my badges for my Star Trek costume. So without further ado, this is my Star Trek Voyager comm badge that I made out of PVC for my Vorik, Ensign Vorik cosplay. So you can tell it's all one piece. This is how thick PVC is. I used a 3mm Sintra PVC, I believe it's called. I've never actually worked with PVC, this is my first time using it, so forgive me and my knowledge on PVC. So this is actually like a very, very cheap method in my opinion to make them. I believe that all of the stuff that I bought maybe cost me, I don't know, like $10, $11. The PVC I have a huge sheet. This is the smallest size they could cut it for me. It cost me I think $11.50 and I used a tiny little corner of it, so I'm gonna have it for a long time for other cosplay stuff. And I just picked it up at a local artist emporium. It was fairly cheap, not too bad compared to other cosplay expenses, which you guys probably all know about by now. So what you're gonna need are some pink brushes. You're gonna need some paints. Picked up at a local Dollarama or something like that, or I had in my basement. I really don't remember. To cut the PVC, you will not be able to use scissors. Like, it is really, really thick. Like, if you apply force on it, as I am right now, I'm weak, but there's no way that this is bending anywhere. It's not going anywhere. You don't have to worry about it breaking unless you cut it. I used X-Acto knives to cut it, which probably wasn't the best idea, because I cut myself pretty good. Lots of blood. But you can also use like woodworking tools I've read online and stuff like that. I used a old cutting board to make this. What else? You're gonna need some glue. I used E6000 that I had left over from my Elsa costume. You're gonna need some kind of old crappy pin that you really don't care about, or pick one up at the dollar store or whatever. I used Canada flags that I've had in my closet for like ages. And you're also gonna need a pattern. Now what I did for my pattern was I went online, Googled Star Trek badges or something like that, and then I just cut one out. And you have to play with the sizes a little bit in order to get the size that you actually want. And then even this, I found that it was like, it was seriously small, so I had to enlarge it like multiple times. So there was that. So without further ado, I'm going to tell you how I made this thing. So what I did was, I'm just going to use my actual one that I used as a pattern. So what I did was I took the PVC off of a corner, and first what I did was I traced my pattern onto the board itself without cutting anything, first of all. That way I could cut a piece and I knew that it would be the right and appropriate size. So there was that. And then I took my X-Acto knife and I just sliced it. Now this stuff, I'll cut a tiny piece off for you right now. It is so thick. You will see what I mean right away. There's no way in hell that you're gonna be able to cut this with scissors. Hopefully you can see that. So what I did was I did multiple cuts first until it got thick. I mean thinner and then thinner and thinner. And then what I did was I just snapped it off. It does snap quite easily, and you're gonna have a rough edge obviously, but you can always deal with that later on. It's not a major concern. So that was how I cut the PVC originally, just to get like a square so I can make it. So then afterwards, you have your pattern cut out. What I did, here's one of my badges that I stopped making when I sliced my finger open really badly. So here's my pattern. As you can tell, it's throughout, the edges are quite rough, simply because this was like first initial cut. And then what I did was, instead of cutting the entire thing out piece by like just doing the outline of the shape, was, as you can see right here how I did before, I made cuts, tiny cuts, just so I can get rid of like excess stuff so it would be easier to cut. And then afterwards I went with the X-Acto knife and I got a little bit more finer into the grooves and evened it out a little bit more. Oh god, I don't like using X-Acto knives anymore. So it ended up looking something like this. This isn't a complete one, like I said. I haven't finished it yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to, but who cares? This back onto my little board. So then after you have cut everything out, what I did afterwards was I just kind of sliced the top off so I can create a more rounded edge, as you can see. You can see already how this edge is starting to look a little bit more rounder, and this one is starting to look a little more sharper. You don't have to do this. This is just what I did, I think, because it gives it a more rounded effect, which I actually really loved. All in all, I think it maybe took me about 20 minutes to make. So, gonna round the edges off. And then after I did this on both sides, the back and the front, what I did was I took some sandpaper and I just sanded it down to make it a little bit more smoother so it wouldn't catch on my clothes or anything, period. And then I just, after that, you can already tell how it's starting to look and feel a lot smoother, of course. So there was that. After that, I painted it, and it took a couple of times to paint it because PVC is white, and I was using some kind of silver that I had in my basement for like 5 years, and of course the paint wasn't the best. But it still did work. You can also use spray paint if you want to as well. I just found that the spray paint, because it was so tiny, the spray paint got everywhere, and it was too messy for me to work with. So there was that. And then after you have painted it, you can glue the pin on the back. What I did was I just took the pin off of this, obviously, put some of the E6000 on the back, and then glued it. Oh, one thing I probably should say before, you will notice, if you look very, very closely at my comm badge, that in between there's kind of like a groove. What I did to achieve this was I sliced very, very carefully around the pattern of the inside, the actual kind of like I guess I'm gonna call it the triangle shape. And I did this on both sides until I created kind of like a little groove canal in between, and then I kind of made it so that it looked like it was two separate pieces that defined it a little bit more. And then when I was painting it, I added a little bit of a darker gold in between there, or a little bit more of a darker silver. PVC, all in all, I actually really enjoyed working it with it. It was very easy to use, and looks a lot nicer than cardboard in my opinion. So as you can tell, this is really, really rough. Starting to look a little bit more defined in the corner over here. And yeah, that's essentially how I made my comm badge. I hope this helps. I know that I have, well, in my opinion, I had a hard time finding a tutorial that I actually liked, and that didn't involve tin foil, strangely enough. So, it's my tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it. I will be linking my pages and stuff like that down below in the description box. And if you like this video, subscribe. If you want more videos, let me know in the comments down below, and have a good day.